Alright, totally spoiler alert. This is part 3 of this dystopian future book. So, I'm going to give away the bad guy story, the real bad guy, uncloaked, in the book. So, we introduced the vampires, and so the way that's going to go is the hero would be attacked at night, fed upon. Maybe there's a group of them at this point. So then they have to like board up the house, and they're trying to figure out, but they're all weakened because they're out of blood, and they decide they need to stay awake to see what was eating at them or whatever, and they board up the house, and then gather furniture from like 3 or 4 houses and bring it all to that one house and have it all boarded up, and then make a fire right off the deck in the front yard, and get all their weapons ready, and just start at dusk, start burning big pieces of furniture, throw a bed on there, throw a couch on there, have a huge fire just dancing into the night, right? And trying to protect themselves, but also to bring it in, get this over with, to have a fight, right? And obviously they probably fed on a couple times, have to figure out what it is, board up the house, go to sleep, get fed on again, wake up in the morning, maybe somebody remembers something, was able to wake up but unable to move. They were like in a hypnotized state while they got chewed on by a fucking something, right? And by an orgy of somethings, eating it all, right? And so they stay awake over the night to try to fight these things off, successfully do a battle, because they'd come in confidently and unaware, and maybe have the furniture ready to light, but not lit yet, but all gassed up and in a pile, so that you could just throw something at it when they came, poof, have a big explosion, and then go in fighting them. And anyway, but them not be a clan, all of them be singles. So like, and that be discovered by like, say somebody gets like knocked down and about to be fed upon, and another vampire come over and push that one off to try to get the feed, and then fight over who's going to eat it, right? Like who's going to get the bite first, kind of thing. And the guy able to get away because of it, or maybe somebody else shoot them or something like that while they're fighting each other, distracted, and then you kind of find out that they're, anyway, and then maybe the clan comes, protects them, whatever. That whole storyline I kind of covered. So then you come to the bad guy. Well, see, where you introduce Cain, Cain was given his powers by Lilith, right? So now we have to introduce Lilith, but we do it very snakily. I would, I'd have her tell her story to somebody, and just, take the hood off, and be this incredibly gorgeous, insane, gorgeous woman, and have like werewolves all around her, and fucking cats and whatever, like people under that fucking curse, and bears, and there's all kinds of were creatures in myth. So you got all those guys kicking around her, and then have her have some douchebag vampire being her buddy, and that's the one who's making all these fucking vampires without a clan, right? And under her control, because she's feeding her blood to him, and then able to get him to go out and just make fucking vampires without any will, right? Because that's how it works. So then you find out that's what was in the fucking tattoo, was her blood, and everybody got the fucking tattoo on them. It was infused with enough of her blood that they were fucked or whatever. It was in time release tattoo, so that you got your 3 feedings or whatever, and then and big enough that it could go for for a long, long time. And then if you see that your tattoo's fading, you'd have to go get a new tattoo, right? Because that means that you're running out of Lilith blood, so you're not going to be under fucking control anymore. Because she's got to keep feeding it to you. That's what her mistake was with Cain. Somebody's mistake with Cain, the old woman. Stopped feeding him, and then he was able to fucking kill her. So then we get to Lilith's story. Well, Lilith is dead. Lilith's book, she's laid with Adam, her soul. It's a whole big fucking huge beautiful book. And so have her explain it to this vampire that's under her control, because he's under her control. She doesn't have to worry about it, and she could tell him, have him like ask, why am I doing this, kind of thing, in pain, and her be able to laugh at him and just tell him, and so she'd tell her story, and it would be that she was forced to get married, have a child against her will, and then she ran away with the child and was cursed through the child, and eventually at 14 years she had to take on all this darkness in order to survive. She had to let the dark in, and when she did so, she became cursed, and the curse was through her daughter. So she had to kill her daughter. Her daughter was around 14, and that's about the age she stayed eternally. Lilith's babies were always killed young. All young were saved by her. The young souls were fostered by her when you die. If a baby dies, it's fostered by her. But Lilith's soul maintained on the earth for a while after that, and then was destroyed internally. And the soul died and left the body. But the body was created by the hands of God. The very lips of God kissed the breath of life into that body. And then it had gone through changes, and it had lived in the dark, conquered the dark, lived with the Dark Prince, laid with the Dark Prince, birthed a whole generation of demons, done so much that even without the soul, the body goes on. And the soul's laying in the cave of Macpeel with Adam sleeping. Our daughter beside her, finally able to rest. But the body is so cursed, so full of dark, so full of blackness, that the soul was almost separated, and there's still something left in it, that it goes on and controls darkness, and feeds on it, just loves it, and loves chaos, and loves it for no other reason. Just wants hate and vengeance upon all of God's creation, mankind. And even Cain has his rules. He went dark through Lilith, and Lilith told him not to, that he was going too far, not understanding or knowing that she had already gone too far and didn't want him to go as far as she did, destroy himself. He didn't. He was able to maintain himself by solitude and different things. But his mother was Eve too, right? So it was a different creature. But anyway, they're different. and he was able to come up with the rules, but his bloodline ends up corrupt. There's civil wars and all kinds of things in the Book of Cain. It's a wonderful book. Well, not wonderful, evil book, but it seems, yeah, kind of feasible, and it's a good vampire book, if nothing else. It's just fascinating and full of biblical characters and all kinds of stuff. So it's a really more feasible than any other vampire book ever written. So anyway, so she introduced herself that way, soulless Lilith, or the Lilith, the soulless, or just the dark side of Lilith's soul. When she laid down, took forgiveness, that part of her that we all let go of, that other us that we talk about. We always talk about it. In Christians, we say, there was that us, but that us is dead, and now there's this us, and this us is new, right? The side of her didn't die; it just took over the body, and that soul was able to lay at rest in peace. But it's still a torment because it's split. And just evil. Everything good in it is gone. Till sleep. Until Judgment Day. Or whatever. So, there's your whole bad guy story, where you also get to have a whole fucking werewolf story in this movie, book, whatever, as well, and another extra twist right there, and just after you're getting introduced to all these vampires and stuff, and you get used to the clans, and you get all that information. Now you get introduced to a werewolf clan and a whole other war and shit going on, and you could probably write it so that the vampires and the werewolves hardly interacted prior to this situation, and then them say like, no, werewolves are extinct kind of thing, or there might be one or two, whatever, but find out that she's got a whole brood under her control, and that it's a her that is the Antichrist, and introduced as the savior of mankind, who's actually the controller and destroyer of mankind. But set it all up to save people from what it is that they made a problem to make themselves a hero. Anyway, let me know what you think. So I'll label this one as the fucking whatever spoiler for sure, because you might not want to know this whole part of it. It kind of destroyed the end of her neat book, though. I just wrote that this morning. I think it would be interesting.